If you're anything like me, you grew up listening to Eminem in the early 2000s. His music videos, mind-blowing. First two albums, amazing. Third album, it was okay. And then you just kind of moved on. But I want to figure out why. Why did we move on? How did we go from the Marshall Mathers LP to watered-down rap ballads with Rihanna and Ed Sheeran? What happened to Eminem? I'm going to figure that out and answer those questions tonight. This is the Overstimulation Station.
What you need to do is practice on your freestyle. When you come out missing like Snoop Dogg's police files.
Eminem grinded away for years in the rap game before making any progress. He released an album called Infinite in November of 1996, but the album was all but ignored by hip-hop radio stations in his native Detroit. Only after winning second place in a national rap battle competition was Eminem's Slim Shady EP passed off to Dr. Dre by Interscope Records. Dre signed Eminem, and his first album, the Slim Shady LP, went on to create a buzz for the hungry new rapper. And you can even hear in his music at this point in his career, he was still the underdog. He was very hungry. He was fed up with being this broke, white trash nobody from Detroit. The music was very authentic and very relatable to people like me who also felt like a white trash loser nobody. By the time Eminem released the Marshall Mathers LP, he had honed his chops as a cutting lyricist and satirist. In my opinion, the music on this album holds up really well. I mean, this album does not show its age nearly as bad as a lot of rap albums from this time period. Lyrically, I still felt it was really relatable because as a listener, you felt like you were going on this journey right alongside Eminem as he navigated through this labyrinth of fame and success that he had just acquired. Then there were the music videos. I remember first seeing the music video for Stan and being deeply moved on an emotional level. I had never seen anything like that on TV before. I had never heard such raw delivery and honesty in songs like The Way I Am, and how the real Slim Shady attacked late 90s pop culture tropes with righteous indignation. The videos were the perfect companion pieces to this fresh new sound. Sadly though, Eminem would eventually become the very things he mocked early in his career. With the release of Eminem's third album, The Eminem Show, I began to notice a change in his musical direction. No longer was he this relatable underdog. In the first track on the CD, Eminem pretty much proclaims himself to be a god amongst the boys and girls of white America. And I mean, he wasn't wrong. After having two critically and commercially successful albums, it was Eminem's turn to brag a little bit. Unfortunately, this was not a direction that I really cared about very much. I began to feel a bit alienated. And just in general, when I look back at this album, the music always just feels a bit hollow to me compared to his first two releases. I also started noticing more silly songs on this album. Songs like Business, Square Dance, Drips, Without Me, and My Dad's Gone Crazy were just corny.
A little help from Haley J, won't you tell him maybe? I think my dad's gone crazy.
It felt like all the sharp edges of the last two albums had been refined down to something more palatable. Kind of felt to me like Eminem was on the verge of selling out. By the time Eminem's next album came out, he was a bona fide multi-platinum celebrity. He had made a movie. He had started his own record label. I was still moderately interested. What could go wrong?
Now lose it. Just lose it. Go crazy.
What the fuck was this?
Cause I'm what you wanna be, so you just look like an idiot when you say these mean things, cause it's so easy to see you're really just a big weenie. Big weenie.
What happened? How does an artist go to shit this fast? How do you go from this respected underdog to dropping verses like, "You're just a big meanie, a big weenie"? I hated this album so much that I started retroactively hating his old albums too. Like if this is what Eminem was culminating to all these years, then I feel like a fool for ever liking him in the first place. But unfortunately, newfound fame was not the first crack in the armor when it came to Eminem's downfall. Eminem had always had an intimate relationship with drugs, and it was something he rapped about often. I mean, even the artwork on his first CD was an angry Vicodin tablet. But if drugs were the key to success for albums like Dr. Dre's The Chronic, they were often the downfall for Eminem. While working on the set of the movie 8 Mile, Eminem was given Ambien to help him sleep. According to Eminem, it knocked me the fuck out, and he felt he needed it all the time. Eminem blamed a large part of his bad lyric writing on Ambien and other drugs he was taking at the time. Jeez, that Ambien is no joke. In 2009, a newly sober Eminem appeared back on the music scene after a 5-year absence. Upon his return, we were subjected to entire albums based almost solely off his experiences with either being hooked on drugs or getting off drugs with the albums Relapse and Recovery. However, the worst thing we got from this period of Eminem's career was his accent phase. Upon the release of Relapse, Eminem's first attempt at a comeback, people couldn't help but to notice he was now sporting an annoyingly unfunny and persistent Middle Eastern accent. He did this accent on over half of the songs on Relapse and a handful of songs on other compilations.
How can I describe the way I feel? Fucking great, man.
What was up with that? Why did he do that? Did he think it was cool? Did he think it sounded good? It was so corny. It sounded so dumb. I could see maybe one song kind of throwing it out there because he did kind of goofy accents here and there. But this phase was so confusing. The only enjoyment I was getting out of this period of Eminem's career was the same pleasure that someone might get from gawking at a drunk person making an ass out of themselves. It is hard for any artist to remain relevant over long periods of time in the music industry, especially in hip-hop. Hip-hop is a young man's game, unfortunately, and the older rappers are usually seen as unhip or out of touch with the youth, which is the core demographic of this genre. The sound of what's popular also changes at any given time. A decade ago, hip-hop was all about the bling, the club, and the hoes. It was easy to get a party started with Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. But nowadays, people tend to gravitate towards a more laid-back, introspective, trap-driven hip-hop where codeine and face tattoos are the banner of what's happening now. Eminem clearly isn't a fan of this new direction that hip-hop has taken, as he mentioned several times on his new album. So who exactly is Eminem trying to appeal to these days anyway? It seems like no matter how commercially successful Eminem's music is, he's never going to truly be happy until he achieves that critical acclaim that he once had. In fact, his last album, Kamikaze, was basically a big fuck you to anyone who didn't like his previous album, Revival. But Eminem, you can't expect to woo the tastemakers of modern-day hip-hop culture when you've been giving people nothing but radio-friendly, watered-down rap ballads for the last 10 years. I mean, seriously, what pop singer hasn't he worked with at this point? The man who once proclaimed, "I'm sick of you little boy and girl groups, all you do is annoy me, so I've been sent here to destroy you," has worked with such chart toppers as Pink, Rihanna, Nate Ruess of the band Fun, Ed Sheeran, Beyonce, X-Ambassadors. Yeah, you know, X-Ambassadors, the band that writes pop jingles for Subaru commercials. Eminem is a man who wants to have his cake and eat it too, and I feel like that is his ultimate downfall. He wants to be loved by the underground and have this critical acclaim, but at the same time, he wants to be this pop star with the fame and success that goes along with that. And somewhere in the middle, he lost a lot of his original followers, myself included. So, what do you guys think? If you're a fan of Eminem, I want you to let me know, what did I get right in this video? What do you think I got wrong? I want to start an open discussion on what do you think happened to this guy. Until next time, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night and stay creamy. I don't know.